Jamar.
What's going on YouTube?
Washington.
This is boy Jamar here once again. Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is your boy Jamar here once again, and we're here to review this latest episode of Real Housewives of Atlanta that aired earlier on tonight. This was another one of the episodes of Real Housewives that I actually really was into, and was one of my favorite, just because whenever an episode I feel engages me emotionally and at the same time has like purpose, or at least I feel like it has purpose, I feel like it's one of the better episodes than just senseless catty attitudes and just bullshit. So I enjoyed this particular episode for some good reasons and bad reasons, but it's still, like I said, since I was emotionally engaged, I think it was good. So I'm trying to see how I want to structure this. Well, first I want to get the smaller stuff out of the way and then move on to the bigger stuff. I think that's how I want to do it. The smaller stuff, well, the smallest, part of this episode was the situation with Todd and Kandi, how they wanted to sort of come to the Kandi's family or Kandi's aunts about opening, their restaurant or whatever. So they went over there and kind of pitched the idea and said, well, at first, I think it was her Aunt Dora was like, look, we ain't really too much interested. I'm old as hell. I'm not about to be cooking in no kitchen. And so she's like, well, no, we wanted you to just pretty much be, just kind of manage the chefs doing your recipe, so to speak. So, that's kind of like the idea that they want to pitch around. And she's like, well, I don't really know how they're going to feel about it because, a restaurant takes a lot of work and we're about to have this whole new baby coming into the situation. So it's kind of like, yeah. But I think at the end of it, I think their family is going to warm up to the idea. They may not warm up to the actual opening date because I think they said they want to open in February, and this was probably maybe like October-ish is when this is being filmed. So I don't know if they're going to actually stick with that, but it seems like they're, they feel good about just the idea in of itself. So that was that part. Then let's see. I'm trying to figure out how I want to approach this because this is going to be interesting. Okay, I'm just going to go with Kenya and her situation. First, it started, Kenya was at her home, still doing the remodeling. She said she had been, away from the house, for a few weeks being in Detroit with the whole family reunion situation. And now she's come back and they're just like, ain't shit being done. So she's kind of pissed about that. So she invited Cynthia over to take a look at it and they can talk about how the reunion went and whatnot. And basically what Cynthia gave Kenya the type of mentality and mindset that she hoped that her family would have. She explained the situation, what happened with her mom and how her mom just, she went to her house and she heard somebody say, don't open the door, and how they locked it and all that stuff. And Cynthia was just so taken aback. Like, how can... And her reaction is pretty much the same as most of our reactions, where she just couldn't fathom the fact that you're a mother of this child and you just pretend like your daughter does not exist. Okay, and even when your daughter tries to reach out to you, and you just refuse for whatever reasons that you have personally to not be in her life. Now, I understand to a degree how some people who are young mothers and they give up their child early at birth, they feel like, I can't provide the life that I want for my child, so I'm going to give it to a family who can. And they feel some sort of shame about that. But usually in that situation, I always felt like the mom in the back of her mind always wanted to be a part of their child's life, but just knew that their present circumstances preventing them from doing it. However, now Kenya is fully grown, in her late 30s, early 40s, if I'm not mistaken. She's not somebody to, depending on who you ask, somebody to be embarrassed about. She did win Miss USA, and she is, making a very well, life for herself. So I can't understand her mother's point of view for just shutting her out and not even trying to even make any remains of or salvage their relationship. And the only reason I could think of it is it's not really Kenya. I don't think it's anything that she's done wrong as far as with her mother, because she didn't do anything. She doesn't really know her to do anything. I want to say it's her mom who might feel shame. I think like her mom feels some sort of shame about what she's done, and she might even feel intimidated almost because of how successful Kenya is. She might feel like, well, this person has gone to do all these great things, and now I'm looking already like a bad guy for giving her up, and I just don't want to face her because I feel embarrassed. Possible. That's the scenario that makes sense to me as to why, after all these years, her mother just still refuses to even look Kenya in the face. It's almost like it's not even that Kenya is a bad person or that Kenya, has uh, embarrassed her mom for whatever reason. I think her mom feels embarrassed for herself, and she feels inner shame for being a young mom, possibly, and just her decisions make her feel like she can't face Kenya. That's the only thing that I can think of. And so Cynthia says that, I just can't imagine a mother not wanting to know who their child is. And I think that's like the common reaction that all of us had. So that made Kenya feel good to have, that friend be, that like-minded, like you can share, you can understand what it is that I'm going through. So that was nice to see. But then we get to where Kenya and her aunt and cousin came to visit. Okay. The aunt said that, this is a very difficult thing I want to say, but, something I want to say to you. And Kenya said, well, I was confused as to why, you left the reunion. And she was like, I can tell you exactly why I left. And she said, I want you to know that I love you, but I also love my sister. Now, well, let me continue before I go there. She was saying, I feel like you need to let go. I feel like enough is enough. And Kenya was like, you weren't there. Like, her aunt was trying to make it seem like she had literally no business going to her own mother's house. Okay? And was trying to tell her that enough is enough. You need to let go, this, that, and the fourth. And Kenya got upset because this is my mom. How am I supposed to not feel like I have no business to go to my own mother's house? Especially after, the type of relationship that me and her have had. You can't tell someone who went literally their entire life without having little to no relationship with the first person who is supposed to be the support system of anyone, even outside of the human race. The maternal, love is something that everything or every, creature, I don't want to say needs, but it definitely makes a difference, okay? So for somebody to want to reach out and seek that kind of companionship with their mother, you can't tell them, oh, you need to let it go because she doesn't want to talk to you. I mean, I will say that after a certain point, it's healthier to let go, but to say that she has no business and that enough is enough, to me, was out of line. And her aunt, I felt like I wanted to punch that bitch. I'm not even gonna lie. Because you gonna sit there and tell me that I need to stop and do what I'm doing when we don't know, or at least I don't know. I don't, because I may have not watched the show at this point, but I'm pretty sure that you had a relationship with your mother, and Kenya's cousin was there. You have a relationship with your mother, obviously. She was trying to say, let go, we can share my mom. I have my mom, we can share her together. And I'm like, that's great and all, but when you're the person who doesn't have the mother, a pseudo mom, like an aunt, a grandma, all that is great. Like she said, her father's mother raised her and that was her maternal figure. Okay, that's awesome. But I can't imagine, like, you always in the back of your mind and your heart of hearts want to have a relationship with your paternal mother. Any other, like, mother figures, even father figures, they are great. They do the job, but it's never the same. I think that's the word. It's never the same. And so you can't blame somebody for wanting to mend that relationship, you know? And her aunt saying all those things just really pissed me off. Like, you trying to tell her that she just needs to let go. It's not, you can't tell anybody how to feel about it. If she lets go, she has to be able to let go on her own terms. You can't tell her to let go when you feel like she should let go. Now, she said, well, if you had been there, you know, you would have been able to see after my mom closed the door in my face. I felt like, you know, there was just you know, cloud of, you know, a dark cloud lifted over my head. And that was her way of gaining the closure. If that's what she needed to get her closure, then she should be able to do that. But I guess her mom called her and told her to come, and that's why she left the reunion. I feel like, I don't know if there's information about what happened with Kenya and her mom in previous seasons when she first came on, but something is not right. Something is not right with her mama. I don't know if she's, you know, right in the head or something, but it just seemed like there's something being hidden as to the root as to why this whole issue or relationship is destroyed or damaged. So I feel like that's important because we can't really fully analyze what's going on here without knowing all the facts of who's what and what happened. Okay, we just get the bare surface, but it leaves too many things to question, I guess. But I think that was that. I mean, they came together and, you know, they hugged it out, but still, that whole energy of you should feel this way and you shouldn't feel anything towards your, like, that whole, it rubbed me the wrong way. It rubbed me the wrong way. And lastly is this situation with Phaedra bringing her sons and inviting Portia, Sheree, and Kim to this Million Man March in DC. Now, let me see. Let me try to get look at my notes real quick so I make sure I don't miss nothing. She's having these meetings with these different congressmen and congresswomen to kind of pick their brains to help fund her own. It's not necessarily a charity, but it's we'll just call it a program called Saving Our Sons, to, you know, help empower young black men and, you know, inform the youth so that, you know, they can go to college and they can fight. We can, you know, fight against this current gun violence issue that we're facing in the country right now. And so she's trying to, you know, be around all these people to kind of help her get her program off the ground because they're doing all wonderful things. And so she wants to gain their support so that her program could do the same types of wonderful things. Makes sense, right? So, excuse me. So they're all on this bus and they're all in this room with these people. And Kim brings her children because I believe her husband was out of town. Her husband was not there for whatever. I forgot what she said he was doing. But she has to take the kids, you know, with her. And the older son is, I believe she says he's 8. And the youngest one she's carrying around is like 2. And they're talking and they're in the room, whatever. And Kim says she has to excuse herself because the young one is crying, trying to take a nap or whatever. And Sheree says, "Oh, well, I mean, I feel like that's kind of rude for you to leave and whatnot." And Kim is like, "Well, I mean, what do you expect me to do?" And a part of me is like, okay, I understand that you are a mom and you have responsibilities, but I don't think you should be so opposed to a babysitter. I know Kim likes to be like, you know, this is a one-man show, or, well, I don't want to say one-man show, but me and my husband don't really use nannies. We don't do this. We don't do that. We just do it ourselves. And I'm like, well, you don't have to. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I guess you could prefer it. You want to be more hands-on, but you have situations like this where you have a young child and you're trying to be an adult at an adult function and you can't because the little one's trying to sleep and he wants his golden, you know, his goldfish snacks. It just doesn't work. Like, and, you know, Sheree came out to, you know, check on her and see what's going on. And she was trying to say that, well, you have to be an adult and it's kind of rude because we're having, this adult conversation with all these, powerful people. And Kim was just like, I mean, there's nothing I can do. Like, this is just, it is what it is. And then the other part, one of the reasons why she left, was one of the congresswomen was talking about how, how she put these men in college, how, she tries to help them and change their lives and whatever. She starts to talk about how, stereotypically, I forget what word she used, but people don't like African American boys. They stereotype them to be dangerous. They stereotype them to want to steal. They stereotype them to, be violent. They have all these negative stereotypes against them. And the congresswoman is saying, I mean, that's partially one of the founding, principles of my program, is so that this image of stereotyping African American men can be diminished and show that we can go to college, we can be smart, we can be educated. And but the reality is, right now, the value of African American men's lives is diminished. And she was just speaking this truth, and Kim felt a way about it. And she stepped out and said they had to have a talk with Jesus, and she pretty much felt like she didn't want to expose her 8-year-old to, this type of discussion, and she wanted to filter it to him in her own way and say that, some people were judged unfairly because of the color of their skin. And I mean, that's fine. I get it. But Kim, here's the thing that you have to understand. That's fine and dandy, but like, I can't help but feel like ignorance is not going to help your son in the long run, because he's at the age now where he could just as easily be one of the next victims of this gun violence. Of course, knock on wood, but still, I feel like it's important for him to be aware of what's happening, in full awareness of what's happening, so that he can avoid certain situations. He can recognize the situation when he sees it. And, he can just be aware. I can't see covering the child and being, sheltering is going to really help him in the long run, because you're not going to be around him all the time. You're not going to always be there. Mom's not going to always be there to filter the world around him. The world's going to always be there, and the world's going to be harsh. Okay, so I feel like it's best to expose them to as much as possible. Okay, and just expose it to them, and then explain what it is that they're seeing, instead of just trying to pretend like it's not there. I just can't feel like that's a healthy alternative, and I think that's pretty much what Phaedra was saying. Like, I just feel like that's not a good idea. Of course, you can't tell anybody how to parent their child, but it's just an advice. I don't think I don't see that as a good idea. And she just felt like it's not a place for children. And girl, it's time to just face the facts, baby. And then when they had the Million Man March, she left because she wanted to go, or she had to go host a leukemia event later on in Atlanta. So she had to leave. And so they were at the Million Man March. A lot of these people were giving all their, long speeches. You know how those, gatherings can be. And Phaedra had brought over this group of women whose sons were part of, recent victims of gun violence due to, either police violence or, what have you. And, they were talking about how, how they miss their sons and how they want, this program to do well and how important it is. And not Phaedra, Sheree is sitting there with her son, and she's in the confessional saying, like, it's, it warms my heart, or really it breaks my heart to hear all these women talk about how their sons had been, ruthlessly killed. And my son is sitting here next to me alive and well, and she can only imagine what it would be like to have, her son taken from her. And I can just imagine being in Sheree's shoes, and another woman looks at me and tells me, like, I'm looking at you and your son, and it makes me miss my son so bad. Like, that would really hurt my heart. And it makes you sit and imagine, like, wow, I feel so blessed. And it makes you want to appreciate people while they're here, because you can only imagine like what it would be like if my son was one of these victims. So I think that's the whole premise of this type of march and this type of cause, is to help be supportive for women in those positions. And it was really nice to see. It was nice to see that kind of camaraderie amongst African American people. It was really, really good. So like I said, I enjoyed this particular part of the episode. And now we get to the slightly ratchet part. Nene Leakes did return to Housewives. And she came to Cynthia's house. They talked about, you need to unblock me and this, that, and the fourth. I'm like, oh, girl. But all in all, I think what happened with Nene and Cynthia is they hit a rut, they hit a wall. They basically just had to separate for a while, gather their thoughts, and then come back and revisit the situation, which I think is probably the most mature way to handle any situation similar to theirs, where you're really, really close to somebody, you and this person know each other like the back of each other's hand, but yet somewhere along the lines you come across some disagreement, or somewhere, you just don't see eye to eye. And so it's good to step away from the relationship, or because if you try to handle it while emotions are high, while you're just prone to make a bad decision or say something that you really don't mean, it's good to just separate, self-search or soul search, and then come back with more clarity and sense. And I think that's what happened with Nene and Cynthia's relationship. So she's back. She's giving little updates on the women, Kandi being pregnant, and how her and Kenya are friends. Now, here's the thing. I think I watched the super trailer. I think this was a part of the super trailer for the latter half of the season, where, okay, now that Nene is back, Cynthia is about to start acting brand new to Kenya, when she was just sitting there coddling her, talking about her family reunion. But now that Nene's back, she's about to sit here and pretend like her and Kenya ain't even all that cool. And that's fucked up, Cynthia, okay? You ain't gonna sit here and start acting brand new just because Nene is coming back, bitch. Because if you do, it's gonna be ready to open the library and read your ass, bitch, because that's some fucked up shit. This is why they call your ass a fucking flip-flopper. Cynthia be blowing whichever way the wind blows. So, anyways, that's my review for this episode, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have anything to discuss how you feel about Kenya and her whole family situation, along with the Million Man March segment, make sure you guys leave that in the comments below. And I will see you guys in the next video. I'm about to watch this Real Housewives of Potomac series. I'm going to see how that goes. Not saying I might review that, because we just don't know. I just don't know. And I'm still debating on whether or not I want to do Hit the Floor. It's like I want to, but I don't know. I might just want to just enjoy it for what it is, but we'll see. We'll know tomorrow. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.
Like, share, subscribe. Washington, Washington, Washington.